I'm Carl Anthony with AutoSensTV here at AutoSens Detroit 2019 at the Michigan Science Center. Over 450 delegates here for this year's conference. One of them is Steve Lambright, the VP of Marketing for AEye. And Steve, it's great to have you join us today.
Great to be here again at AutoSens.
So Steve, it's my understanding that as a company, you're developing robust and comprehensive mobility and robotaxi solutions. So let's start there. Let's talk about that.
Yes, happy to. So we held a roundtable yesterday afternoon here at AutoSens where the topic was really around how to address some of the issues facing the robust deployment and development of ADAS and robotaxi solutions. What's getting in the way of accurately thinking about those? So we really discussed moving from the basic metrics that people have today around sensors, specifically LiDAR sensors, in regards to range, rate, and resolution, which tend to be sort of three boxes that everyone wants to check. And when you just check those boxes and you think of them just as numbers, you lose the context about what's driving the why those metrics matter. So we tried to bring back some of that why into the conversation. We had a very interesting conversation with a lot of very intelligent people who've been through this process and understood some of those hurdles that they were trying to overcome. So, for example, one of them was we talk about range. Range being, okay, how far away can a system detect an object? Well, detection is the most simple way, thing that you can do. You can detect an object and say that yes, it's an object's there. But what a perception system really needs to do is classify an object, right? So you need not to know just that it's an object, but what that object is. So how we really should be thinking about range is not range for detection, but range for classification, because that's what really matters, which comes into a whole other set of topics, which is, well, then what's the rate? What's the speed at which I'm actually capturing that data? Because if I can accurately capture classification range at a distance, but it's slow, when I'm traveling at 70 miles an hour, that could be an issue. So, you have to be able to do it fast as well. So you have to introduce rate in terms of how do you make it happen faster, and then how do you define rate, right? And then that comes into resolution. What is an appropriate amount of resolution? How much resolution do you absolutely have to get classification at range? So these were the topics that were discussed yesterday. So it gets into sort of a circular thinking about how you apply those three things together. And then, after the fourth dimension that we talked about was, okay, you've classified an object. Now you need to know, now the perception system needs to know where is that object moving, and in what direction, and how fast. So you need velocity information about that object simultaneously with its classification. So how do you capture all of that and effectively do that in milliseconds? What's the right time frame for all of this, right? It's not, you can't do it in seconds, too long, right? So what's the right speed? What's the right rate? So that was the conversation we had yesterday on the roundtable.
So with all of that in mind, Steve, let's talk about your company in terms of product, services with your customers in the market. What is unique about your company that you're addressing all of those things we just talked about?
Well, there's so many things, so I'll try to do this quickly. We start with an agile LiDAR system, which means we don't scan in a fixed pattern. We can interrogate dynamically within a scene, meaning we can put emphasis wherever we want within the scene at any given moment, which gives us a couple of different things. One, it gives us the ability to do faster interrogation within a scene and enables us to do that classification at range because we can put more points on an object faster than other systems and do it at distance, at range, so that we're able to collect more information more accurately, faster, and then be able to combine that by revisiting it faster to define velocity. So we're sending a more complete picture of an object up to the perception stack than any other system can, because we're able to collect all that information at the edge of the network, at the sensor level. So we bore-sighted camera with the LiDAR so that the 2D pixel and the 3D voxel are core bore-sighted. So we're getting both the true color information and the geometry of the object within one data type. So what does that let us do? It basically lets us apply the entire catalog of computer vision algorithms through the point cloud. So again, what does that let us do? That lets us say, okay, we can just do an edge detection algorithm on the point cloud, Okay, what does that mean? It means that we don't have to see everything within the object of a truck. We can just define where the truck begins and ends. So, because you don't really need to know everything about the truck. You just need to know that A, it's a truck, it begins and ends here, and it's going in this direction at X speed. Those are the things you need to know. So that's what we're able to deliver.
So, Steve, you have expanded quite a bit as a company. Europe, North America, there's big plans on the horizon. So just tell us about your expansion across the globe.
Our expansion is largely a function of finding the right partners, right? So we, unlike a lot of other companies, we don't ever plan to become a tier one manufacturing company. We are looking to partners to do that. So earlier this year we announced partnerships with LG and with Hella. So we have a partner in Asia, we have a partner in Europe, and just this week, in fact yesterday, coincident with AutoSens, we announced our partnership with AEye, the largest Japanese tier one. So now we have a strong partner in Japan as well. So again, looking to those partners as both investors as well, and to help us productize and manufacture our systems to deliver to OEMs.
So when it comes to OEMs, these partners and these other companies that you've networked with and that you're doing business with, what are some of their pain points, Steve? What are some of the things that you're there that you can help them with?
So I think the primary thing is that we have the right architecture to enable them to define the product that they think is differentiating for their customers, largely because we are software definable. We're not just giving them a sensor and a data stream. We're giving them the tools to define how that sensor is actually interrogating the scene, define features that they can then take to market that's unique to their product offerings, right? So a product that's designed and delivered to market by Hella is going to look and feel very different from a product that's based on the AI platform that is built by another tier one, for instance. So because it's all software definable and it's basically customizable to meet the needs of each one of our partners. Different features, different capabilities, different markets.
I think, Steve, in so many words, you've answered this next question. Kind of a two-part question here, but first, what trends do you see in mobility and robo-taxis in the future? And then, where are you as a company to address those trends, to sort of meet the market as it evolves?
Well, I think we're seeing, and not unique to AI, but I think the market is seeing sort of a reassessment in terms of the rush to go to market of robo-taxis and mobility solutions. I mean, they're going there, but they're going a little slower than what I think a lot of people expected. At the same time, we're seeing an acceleration in the ADAS space. I kind of think of it as revolution versus evolution. We're seeing sort of a retrenchment towards an evolutionary approach to embedding this capabilities into vehicles as ADAS types of solutions to get, I think, drivers more familiar and comfortable with those types of technologies. And as well, we haven't worked out the business models around robo-taxis and how that's all going to work. Now, I think over the next 3, 4, 5 years we'll see those evolve, but right now, that's what's happening. AI uniquely has an architecture and a platform that can, because it's software definable, because it's flexible, because it is agile, can apply to both robo-taxis as well as to the ADAS market. Sure. So that's one of the reasons we're here and we're able to talk to both types of solutions. We scale from that ADAS type of solution, again, because it's software definable and customizable, it can be very feature rich for an ADAS type of solution, but it can also be very focused for a complete solution for mobility. Now, why is AI capable of doing that uniquely? Fundamentally, we think of it as a system, not as a sensor, right? So we're thinking holistically around what problems are we really trying to solve? What are the needs of OEMs? What are the needs of robotaxi companies from a sensor perspective? And honestly, we're not just thinking about LiDAR and cameras, we're also thinking about how do we integrate all these sensors and push intelligence to the edge of the network, because how can we collectively make the gathering of data smarter at the edge of the network, right? So again, we're sending better data up the perception stack so better decisions can be made faster, because ultimately none of this happens if safety isn't paramount, right? None of this market takes off if these cars aren't safe, these vehicles aren't safe, and customers aren't comfortable getting in them. So that's what we're trying to drive.
Steve, Steve, I admire how you're asking those big, deep questions. Any final thoughts on that? Just asking a lot of those deep questions that I think consumers have too.
Deep thoughts. No, I think so. I think it's there's a period of time here where there's sort of confidence building measures that are required in the marketplace. And what I mean by that is just people need to see and trust that the technology is going to be there when they need it. And if you can follow the typical sort of Gartner adoption curve where you go from the height of the hype mountain to the trough of disillusionment. We're coming out of that trough of disillusionment, or I see that we're beginning to get there. But how you get there is based on solid facts, solid experiences. The hype level has been turned down and we're back to the world of reality. And so what needs to happen over the next few years is a solid dose of reality and real experiences where people have positive experiences with the technology so that they gain confidence that it is going to deliver on the promise. And that's what we collectively as an industry have to deliver.
Steve, I don't want to miss anything, so any final thoughts to add that we need to cover here in the last couple minutes?
I think we're good. I can't add. I've got nothing.
Steve, I want to thank you for your time. From all of us here at AutoSense, thank you for being here. We wish you a good rest of the show and, of course, safe travels home. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. It's always a pleasure.
Speaking today with Steve Lambright. He is the Vice President of Marketing for AEye. For more AutoSense, like, subscribe, and share.